All right, everybody. It has been a hot minute, but we are finally getting another AoE2 balance update, and this is a pretty big one, guys. So let's just jump straight into this. It's going to be on the PUP right now, so it's not going to be in the game just yet, but will be in the game relatively soon. So tomorrow is another fun-filled update for AoE2 DE. This will bring back the regular Empire's War 1v1 ladder, but bug fixes, quality of life features, balance changes, and more. 1v1 Empire Wars is available again. Several changes and fixes, quality of life fixes, yeah, blah, blah, blah. All right. So, let's see. Nothing too big there. Of course, I'll link the description, in the description of the video, the link. Yeah. Okay, yeah, so there's some bug fixes. Oh, I like this one. Bamboo tree graphics are no longer reduced by small trees. This made the trees really hard to click, like the bamboo trees. And this actually, in the Voobly version, bamboo trees were not affected by small trees, so they're kind of changing it back to what it was back in Voobly. Bridges? Oh, it's interesting. Directed the 44 map size? I think this is probably just a UI thing, not an actual gameplay thing. Yeah, this is a new one. The Civilization Selection Dialogue sports a new look. This new design includes the ability to mark civilizations as starred. So you're, I think, able to custom pick civilizations from random or something like that. So that's pretty cool. Custom civilization selection mode. Yeah, there we go. Cool. So a few hotkey issues, some Xbox changes. Gameplay changes. Deer will being pushed will ignore small obstacles such as resources and continue in the intended direction when possible. I hope you enjoyed the deer pushing meta because it's even easier now. Pressing Alt plus set gather point hotkey will set the gather point of a building to itself. Okay, I don't know what that really means. More gather point stuff, assisted farm placement, all that stuff. Fixed an issue where kings were occasionally able to attack ordinary units. This happened a few times in some tournament matches and was very funny, but that is now fixed. Some invite stuff. Would fail drop relics. Okay, yeah, that's also a thing. Oh yeah, 1 HP Mongol Scout Cavalry with Bloodlines now no longer die when reaching Castle Age. You gotta love that. That's because they changed it so that Scout Cavalry get the extra HP when you hit Castle Age, but if you had 1 HP, like the way they round the HP values, if you get an HP buff, it meant that the Scout dies. Happens with, I think, like Aztec monks with like a certain combination of upgrades when a relic is dropped or something like that. I think T-West has a video on it. All right, so you have some campaign stuff. You can read all this to your heart's content. Victors and Vanquished is generally quite buggy, so I am glad that these things are being updated. Wow. That's a lot of Victors and Vanquished fixes. All right, here's where you guys are all at. The balance changes, and like I said, guys, there are some big ones here. So, standard units. Elite Battle Elephant conversion resistance increased from 0 to 2. So it's plus 2.5 in-game seconds. That is huge. Basically, you're turning an elephant into like a scout in terms of how hard it is to convert. So you can still convert elephants, but it is harder to do so. And that is, I think... I mean, they are really going to try and push elephants until they're actually meta. And let's see how much this affects things, because that is a big buff. Like multiple monks trying to convert multiple elephants is going to be quite tricky, and because elephants got a speed buff in the past, remember, the elephants are going to be closing the distance a bit sooner, so let's see, guys. Let's see. Crossbowman upgrade cost reduced from 125 gold to 175 100 gold, so making a crossbowman a little bit better. Crossbowmen are a bit hard to use in the current meta, as most people are preferring skirmishers and cavalry archers. Back in the day, crossbowman was just, what, 125 food, 75 gold? Then they really ramped up the price by 50 food and 50 gold, which is a lot in early Castle Age. Still has the same food cost, but the gold cost has been reduced a little bit. And ARB has similarly been reduced in gold cost as well. So 400 food, 400 gold, now 400 food, 350 gold. So just the archer line in general is going to be a little bit easier to tech into. Siege units. Battering ram increased bonus damage versus buildings, and same with captain. Captain's by a little bit. Battering rams by a pretty sizable chunk. Rams in Castle Age honestly didn't feel bad, especially after they got the speed buff a little while ago. I'm honestly not entirely sure if this was necessary. Armored Elephant, getting that extra bonus damage as well, I think is just to keep it on par with the Battering Ram, because Armored Elephants in Castle Age and Battering Rams in Castle Age have the exact same DPS against buildings. My concern is actually going to be Gurjaras, because of the way that their bonus works with extra, extra increased bonus damage. Like, that applies to their Armored Elephants, and that's just going to make them even scarier with mid-game stuff. Of course, Siege Rams are unchanged, as are Siege Elephants, so this is more of a mid-game to early Imperial Age thing. Again, I don't really know if this was necessary, but we'll see. Heavy or just Scorpion in general, projectiles are affected by ballistics, so this used to be a Roman bonus, and now is going to be available to all civilizations. Scorpions already felt pretty good in mid-game, but you typically didn't go Scorpions with an existing, like, archer composition, because they kind of sort of did the same thing. So it's more of like, if you're going to be going for, say cavalry or infantry and mixing in Scorpions to help deal with, like, cav archers, archers, and infantry, then now that's going to be a much easier composition to go with in the mid-game. I mean, ballistics is expensive, right? But at the very least, you don't need to get any other upgrades for the Scorpions. So yeah, this is interesting. And of course, in late game, heavy Scorpions are going to be a lot better. So watch out from Khmer now. Khmer with ballistic Scorpions. That is going to be, oh boy! Plus the elephant buffs too. This is a feast for Khmer already, and with no direct changes. Fortifications. Palisade Gate armor increased from 2-2 to 2-4. This is just going to make them much less vulnerable to archers in the early game, which seems fair. Gates already suffer from the issue of having a lot of surface area, so that makes melee units extra good against them relative to just regular individual tiles of Palisade Wall, so I think this is totally fine. Market. Trade cart and trade cog collision size multiplier reduced from 0.5 to 0.25, making bumping while trading less likely. That is a good thing. Nobody likes trade lines that are just a mess. This is a big one, guys. Market base exchange rates for food prices has been increased from 100 to 115. So the initial food prices are more expensive and selling provides more gold. Wood and stone exchange rates are unchanged. So look at this. The initial standard gold price for buying 100 food is increased from 130 to 150, and the selling price has gone from 70 to 81. So you're kind of splitting the difference between what it used to be for food and stone. So it's still going to be a bit cheaper than stone. At the same time, this is a big blow against the Phosphorus stuff, and it's also a big blow against all of the very market usage, timing intensive plays that we see at the high level as well. So this is going to make just rushing your way up to Castle Age to get that tech advantage more difficult. I mean, on the one hand, I generally don't like changing things that have been in the game forever, but I mean, a lot of those builds are really oppressive and unfun to play against. Like, personally, I think the Phosphorus stuff wasn't broken. It's just a lot harder to play against than it is to play, and it's just not fun to play against. Yeah, I don't love it, but it does feel kind of necessary. Alright, civilization-specific changes. Aztecs. Military units create faster, increased from 11% to 15%. Most people thought Aztecs needed a little bit of love. It used to be 18% back in the day, so they're kind of splitting the difference and just making it a little bit faster. This is fine. I think Aztecs were still generally okay, but yeah, it's just a little bit of a buff, going to make Aztecs a bit easier to play. Bohemians. Hussite Wagon train time increased from 26 seconds to 30 seconds. This will make them by far the slowest training castle unique unit. So that also, this doesn't specify elite, so I think this is just the Castle Age version. Again, the Phosphorus stuff, the hyper-aggressive castle drops into Hussite Wagons can be really annoying to deal with if you don't have a lot of heavy cavalry and a lot of monks. And I mean, it still doesn't change the issue that Redemption monks counter all of the things that counter Hussite Wagons, and Bohemians can do that really cheaply and effectively. But this will at least make getting out those Hussite Wagons more challenging. Byzantines. Fireships and Drummond's attack faster bonus has been reduced from 25% to 20%. Byzantines were really strong on hybrid maps and are still going to be very strong on hybrid maps. I don't think this is going to be a massive difference. The main thing is that your fireships will still beat enemy fireships. It's just not by as big of a margin. And then Drummonds are just a ridiculous power spike in early Imperial Age, especially with Byzantines having a cheaper Imperial Age to begin with. So I'm a big fan of that nerf. Honestly, I think it's just going to be for the best. Byzantines are still going to be just fine on the hybrid maps. Chinese fixed an issue with the team bonus effect, providing slightly different than intended bonus for farm values. Good stuff. Davidians, the Therasadai base range increased from 6 to 7, so now they will match the range of Galleons. Fine. Therasadai still suffer from the major issue that they counter galleons, but they don't counter fire ships very well, and they're not even that great against demo ships. Well, I guess they'll be a little bit better against demo ships now, but fire ships remain the big issue, where it's like the Caravel problem, where it's a designed galley killer, but they're so bad against fire ships that any civ that is playing late game water and has access to fast fire ships has a very strong counter to the Therasadai, whereas galleons in mass are much more difficult to counter, especially when supported by a few heavy demo ships. And chances are, if you're playing late game water, you're going to be against a civ that has fast fire ships. Like, generally speaking, the good late game Navy civs have fast fire ships. Obviously, the exceptions are going to be civs like Saracens, Portuguese, and Vikings, of course. But still, I guess this is good. I don't know if this is going to make like the biggest difference in the world, but it's probably for the best. Georgians, elite and regular Monaspa HP reduced. Hallelujah, Monaspa Nerf. Oh my goodness, that was needed. So it is getting reduced by 5 on the regular and 10 on the elite. Ooh. Okay, this is going to make them, I'm pretty sure, take 1 fewer hit to die from Halb, so I'm all for a Monaspa Nerf. This is going to, I think, further lean into the, you swarm those units, and they have a lot of attack, but they're not very strong individually. And it's going to, I think, at least provide a little bit greater distinction between the Monaspa unique unit and the Georgian Cavalier, which sees like no play right now. So you can go for Cavalier if you want a much more tanky unit, but still the overall better unit in mass is going to be the Monaspa. I'm sure they're still going to be just fine, but a well-needed nerf. Huns, the Hunnic horse that spawns on nomadic maps, has its movement speed reduced from 1.2 to 1.05. Really good change here. We've been seeing in the Sax Nations Cup that's going on right now that when you're playing a land nomad, everybody on both teams picks Huns because that Hunnic horse is just so ridiculously strong at gathering those early resources. It's still going to be there. It's still going to be decent, but now is going to be much, much slower. This 1.05, for example, guys, is the same base movement speed of a Huskarl or a Berserk. So it's going to be, instead of 1.2, which is the same as a Scout Cavalry, it's going to be 1.05. Khmer, regular and elite ballista elephants projectiles not affected by ballistics. This just keeps them consistent with scorpions. Again, this is a wonderful patch for Khmer. Yeah, your scorpions are better, your elephants are better, your ballista elephants are better. They are going to be feasting. Koreans, elite turtle ship upgrade is cheaper. It was way too expensive in the past, so that is going to be a lot easier to get. Holy cow, that's what, 350 food cheaper and 300 gold cheaper? That is big, man. Elite turtle ships see very little play. Usually it's just a couple turtle ships in early Castle Age, so this is going to make them a lot better. And to make things even more appealing, the movement speed has been increased from 0.9 to 1.05. Again, that is actually same speed as the Hunnic horse, or Huskarl or Berserk. Still slower than most of the other ships, but even Cannon Galleons still technically. But you can see that turtle ships, they used to be 0.9 in Castle Age, 1.035 with elite. Now it's going to be just even a little bit faster across the board. Good stuff there. Turtle ships don't really see that much play. Persians, war elephants are basically just getting the effect of battle elephants, so you're getting the increased conversion resistance. Again, just keeping things consistent there, that's fine. Poles, new civilization bonus. Bloodlines and scout line upgrades cost 50%, minus 50% food. On the one hand, Poles don't really see much play these days, and they're not the greatest on open maps. But I think a lot of that is just power creep because Georgians are kind of better than Poles in most respects. I mean, this is certainly good. It's going to make switching into Winged Hussars a lot easier. But a cheap Bloodlines is not half bad. It's going to be, what, 75 food, 100 gold for Bloodlines now, instead of 150 food, 100 gold? Decent. Light Cav is 150 food, 100 gold, so it's actually the same price as Bloodlines. So yeah, that's going to be cheaper to switch into. Leans pulls a little bit more into the lighter cavalry line of things. Winged Hussar, I think, is, what, 600 food, 800 gold? So that's going to be 300 food, 800 gold now. I mean, the gold price is still the big inhibitive one, but yeah, going to make pulls. Scout play better. Just a nice little boost. I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference. Let's see. Some train time buffs and nerfs for Portuguese. Caravels are reduced by 11 seconds. That is pretty nice. Caravels, like Therosadai, run into the issue where they are awful against fire ships, so any civ that has good fire ships will just spam those against Portuguese, and it's going to be much more difficult to deal with. And then Organ Gun train time increased from 21 to 25 seconds. This does not feel like enough at all. Organ Guns are incredibly oppressive, and like they're harder to counter than Hussite Wagons, in my opinion, especially once they get going. And they're definitely taking a very light touch right now. And this is going to make, you know, the super all-in aggressive castle drop Organ Gun play worse, but at the same time, I'm not convinced. I am not convinced. Caravels, again, it's going to be easier to get them going in the situations where you want to make them, but they're still countered too much by fire ships. And lastly, Romans, just they're not the only civ that have the Scorpion Ballistics bonus anymore. So yeah, that's just a indirect nerf to Romans. All right, so 1v1 Empire Wars is available again. Meeting a player in lobby. Okay, that is fine. Some AI changes, some localization changes, modding changes, and that is going to be it, guys. So a decent-sized balance update. I mean, we were certainly in for one. It's been a really long time since we've had that. Got a lot of campaign fixes, yeah. But beyond that, no news about the DLC yet. If there is a DLC, we don't even know because they haven't announced it yet. But yeah, we'll have to see how that's going. Definitely let me know in the comments what you guys think of these changes. And thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.